Welcome to More Than Money. I'm Mark Minnella, and this is
Stephen Balance. Good to meet you.
glad you're with us, and it looks like we're running.
I think so.
You think?
I hope so.
You never know with this live, but I think we are.
Yeah.
And we missed a week last week. Sorry about that. Hope you didn't miss us. Well, actually, I hope you did, but but we're back.
Yeah.
And part of the reason was my fault.
Yeah. So Mark took a big vacation, right?
No.
He didn't do anything. He just left one day. Didn't even know he wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
Mark, you actually had a lot of work.
It was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
It was a whirlwind.
Drove a lot of trips, a lot of places.
Yeah, actually three different events. There was Kingdom Advisors
Okay.
down in Orlando, Florida. There was the CEO Tour of Florida, the CEO Symposium, the Florida Christian Business Owners CEO Symposium. You say, Mark, you don't belong you don't live in Florida. Why are you on this? Well, I'll explain that in a little bit. And then there was the Council of National Policy, C&P.
Okay.
Went to all three of those with a few days in between for a little bit of rest.
Okay.
And a little bit of sunshine, but most of it was business. So while you were here holding down the fort, I was down there, moving and shaking.
And I noticed you never go to any of these conferences in Missouri. It's
Well,
only Florida.
in the winter.
So,
yeah.
all right. So, can you tell us a little bit about these conferences and who they involve and why you were there?
Yeah, I would think that most people who are involved in the financial arena or who are looking for financial planners or investment professionals are becoming familiar with Kingdom Advisors. You've heard us speak about the National Association of Christian Financial, the NACFC, National Association of Christian
Financial Consultants?
Yeah, and that was, believe it or not, that was an organization I helped form almost 20 years ago.
Okay.
Since then, Ron Blue formed his own, and that's what Kingdom Advisors is.
Okay.
And a lot of people know Ron Blue as an author and a financial planner. He actually was the president and founder of the largest Christian investment company in America at one time. So, he's well known. He formed Kingdom Advisors, and he's doing some incredible stuff. Right now, he has gotten into, I believe it was 7 colleges where you can get a degree in Christian biblical financial planning, kind of a CFP from a biblical perspective, and you actually can get a designation, which of course I have.
Okay.
They get the Certified Kingdom Advisor.
Okay.
So a lot of great things going on down there, and this was this annual symposium for members and people to come together and meet hear what's going on, to fellowship, and to have some great speakers. One being one of the foremost writers on biblical concepts of money, and that's Randy Alcorn.
Yeah, I actually saw you got your picture taken with him. Pretty fancy, huh?
Ooh, yeah, I got the hobnob with the big guys, Yeah, Randy Alcorn. I really admire this man, not just for his writings, but his writings are great, both fictional and non-fictional, but also because of his life. A lot of people don't know because it's so long ago, but he was a pro-life, I guess, how's the best way to say, picketer? He was a pro-life demonstrator. He would go to abortion clinics and pray for people outside them.
Wow.
And he lost everything because Planned Parenthood came after him. They used the RICO law against him. He wasn't even allowed to draw an income over minimum wage for like 10 or 15 years.
Wow.
So what he did back then was he dedicated all his royalties from his books to charity.
Oh, wow.
To missionaries and things like that. And even after they overturned that and he was able to take an income and that kind of thing, he maintained the lifestyle that he had before, and he continues to donate all his royalties from his books to the kingdom.
Wow.
So Randy not only talked the talk, but he walked the walk, and he still does. And I'm just always thrilled when he comes out with a new book. And here at the office, every new client that comes in, we give them 1 or 2 of Randy's books, either Money, Possessions, and Eternity, or
God and Money.
God and
is one of
Money,
them?
or the Treasure Principle, and or all of those, depending on what we think would be best for that client at that time. So
And they're so good.
They're
They're incredibly convicting. The first chapter, like I don't want to read anymore, but it's so good.
Yeah, these are great books. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you'd like one of these books, you can get in touch with us at Integrity Investors or More Than Money Ministries by calling 314-212-1405. And it'd be our gift to you to get you the information, one of these books from Randy Alcorn. Yeah, so I got a little time with Randy, and that was great. Plus a bunch of other great speakers that were there.
Yeah. Any other big names that we would know? Or?
Well, you know, a lot of people may not know this name. Charles Billingsley, he led worship and singing at it, but so did somebody a lot of other people would know. In one evening, Michael W. Smith was our worship leader. Yeah. So,
wow.
So that was really good. But yeah, there's a lot of people here. Ron Blue was there, of course.
Okay.
Mark Batterson, who's National Community Church. Bob Dole was there. People know that name. Jerry Bauer, Jim Wise, Charles Billingsley, Randy Alcorn, Donald Miller, just Ken Boa. I love Ken Boa. If you ever get the chance to go online and look up Ken Boa, this man understands God and how our relationship with him should be, and he is so good at helping people get a deeper relationship with God. So just gobs of great people, great breakout sessions. In fact, this year, I'm really excited to report this year we had the largest biblical responsible investing breakout session yet.
All right, explain.
Yeah,
What is that?
Biblical responsible investing, that's where people can invest without compromising Christian values.
Okay.
Well, as you know, one of my life's missions the last 20-some years has been to educate and to raise up financial advisors to help people invest with Christian values, not compromise their worship of God by investing in something that is involved in pornography or abortion or either profit funds or promote those things or immoral lifestyles or addictive products. It's been a long road, but we had over 100 and some advisors in this breakout session this year.
Wow.
Okay, now this is a long time coming. It is growing. If you have a financial advisor, an investment advisor, and you ask him about biblical responsible investing, and he can't say without a doubt that he can do that for you, I really encourage you to find somebody that can, because a lot of people don't get it yet. A lot of investors don't get it yet, but a lot of the advisors are getting it. You see, as a Christian, we want to invest in a way that honors God.
Yeah.
Everything we do is either an act of worship or
Act of rebellion.
Act of rebellion, exactly. Even our investing. So why would we ever invest in a company that either promotes or profits from things that we consider harmful to others, that God considers harmful to others, that causes them to stumble in their walk with God or would cause somebody to stumble on their walk towards God? Of course, we wouldn't want to do that. We wouldn't want to endorse a company that does those kind of things. And you don't have to. It's been proven over and over again, many studies, that you don't have to invest in companies that compromise your Christian beliefs, your biblical beliefs. Well, now the financial world is getting it. The wave is forming. It is growing. And everybody can catch that wave. And I just want to say one little thing here before we go any further. Imagine what would happen if all the money invested in companies that promoted anti-biblical lifestyles, anti-biblical activities was removed from these companies. And that money was then moved to companies that were at least neutral, if not in alignment with God's directives for our lives and other people's lives. Money is the oxygen of business. If every Christian, and 80% of Americans say they're Christians, did this, companies would start conforming their products, services, and charitable giving to honoring God, whether they wanted to or not, because they have to make a profit and they want your money to, and people say, well, it doesn't matter though, Mark, you're not investing directly in a company, you're not funding that company, you're buying it from somebody else over the exchange. But the reality is when we buy stocks and run that stock up, we're actually helping that company become more powerful, be able to borrow more, issue more stock, do different things that cause it to do more. What if we only did that with companies that embraced Christian values or at least didn't offend them. Can you imagine the impact it would have on society?
So it doesn't seem like there would be as many people to, I guess, conform to that kind of mentality. You said that you had the largest, breakout session.
Yeah.
So these conferences, someone tells me, Bob, I'm going to a Christian conference. I imagine 10 to 12 people, it's just the disciples and me. And, but this was slightly more than that, right?
There was about 1,200 people there.
1,200 people.
Yeah, 1,200
Wow.
people. It was big. It was a big conference, and I think even Ron's blown away with it because he had the vision for this, but he never knew it would grow this big this fast.
And these are all people that
in the financial community,
okay.
advisors, CFPs, some could have been accountants,
okay.
Insurance people, but all of them were there to learn how to incorporate God's directives in their business, how to represent the kingdom of God in everything they do, including their business.
Wow. So this is probably going to be a difficult question for you. If you could take away at least one thing, because you were gone for a long time. It's very lonely without
10
you.
days.
Yeah.
This conference was only a couple of days.
Okay. So if you could take away one thing from that, with all the people that you met, with all the worship and meeting, upwards of possibly 1,200 people, what would that be?
Well, I already mentioned that biblical responsible investing is becoming mainstream, finally. It's starting to be to where anybody and everybody is getting involved. So I already mentioned that. That would have been one of the takeaways, but I'll go with another one. And that's that it seems to be getting very clear. The lines are getting more black and white in what is biblical and what's not. Who is pursuing God and who isn't. So, when it comes down to the pocketbook, it seems like that's the last holdout for most people. Yeah. And it's getting stronger and stronger. And I have to say that's a really wonderful thing, because I know in my life, the closer I get to Christ, the more I surrender, including my pocketbook, including realizing it's all His, as we talked about in the stewardship studies, including being able to say, it's not mine, God, what do you want me to do with it in my life? How do you want me to use my life and your resources to your glory? The more joy, the more peace, the more fulfilled a person becomes. So I'm very thrilled to see that we're actually having college degrees in biblical responsible investing, biblical responsible financial planning. The big take is it's becoming mainstream.
Good.
It's going to be hard for people to run from it, but it also is going to be under attack, which clarifies the lines. For example, a friend of mine just released a new ETF, exchange traded fund, February 28th, that is totally clean from a biblical responsible investing perspective.
Okay.
And the first article I saw was from an LGBT article, how this ETF removes LGBT from its investing, and it's how backwards it is compared to how America is moving. So they were attacking it, saying he's being prejudiced, and not at all. There's all sorts of funds out there that embrace that. This fund was put out there to actually give Christians investors the ability to invest without compromising their Christian values and embrace biblical values. And it doesn't mean that they're dissing anybody. What it means is they're just giving people a choice. Hey, liberals, don't you say we should have a choice? Oh, wait, that's on a different issue.
Well, and that brings me to the thought of one of the things that we talk about the most is, as far as people's investments, what's the most common thing that you hear when you review someone's portfolio?
Oh, the biggest phrase after I've actually screened it for biblical principle is, I just didn't know. Let's get that changed. When people find out how much money is in companies that are either promoting or profiting from abortion, I just didn't know. I want out of that. Is there a way to make money and not be in that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. or when they find out that they're actually investing in companies who fought against the concept that marriage is a biblical concept, not a social concept. You know, that marriage from a biblical perspective is between a man and a woman. By the way, on that issue, why do people get so upset about that? If a man wants to marry a woman and a woman wants to marry a man, why is that wrong? Why does everybody want to impose and say, no, you can't have it that way? You know, it doesn't have, even the term marriage comes from biblical concepts and principles. So why change that? Why not just not call it civil union? You know, I don't know any Christian who wouldn't say you have the right to have a civil union, to be a life partner with whoever you want. I may disagree from a biblical, eternal perspective whether that's right or wrong, but you know, God gave us free will, and He gives us freedom to make those choices. So, you know, in love, I'd say, hey, let's study the Bible together to see what it says. And you may say, but I don't care, I'm going to do that. But marriage from a biblical perspective is something that a lot of Christians say, hey, I support that, and I don't want people to stumble into immorality through other means. So they don't want to invest in companies that are against biblical marriage.
Yeah, and one of the things that I have found...
Or pornography. Or prostitution.
Or all of the above.
Or addictive products.
Yeah.
Anything that harms people.
We even... we did a little, play the other day about, you know, investing in something that could make so much of a return.
Right.
And when I found out it was not, you know, it could make me a lot of money, but when I found out it was nowhere near close to what I would touch, you know, there's something in here that you just can't do it.
Right.
After you know.
Right. And you know, again, it's really neat. The messaging going out, of course, is twisted and messed up. But when you sit around with strong Christian believers and financial people, their message is, you know what? God loves all of us. He loves straight, gay. He loves prostitutes and tax collectors. He loves us all. And His goal is for us to realize the fullness of life, not to harm us or to do any harm. And because of that, He has the God of the universe, who understands everything, including you, wants you to realize the fullness of eternity. And so He says, hey, come to me. Come to me. I've already paid the price for all the rebellion you may have in your life against God. And just accept this gift of salvation. And He's not saying, get your act together and come to me. He doesn't say, stop sinning and come to me. He says, come as you are. While we were still in our sins, Christ died for us. You know, and I know some people don't want to admit there's a God, and some people don't want to admit they're sinners. But the reality is that if we look at our life, we all are very short-term thinkers. And in that short-term thinking, we get selfish, self-centered, and that is sin. Prideful, and we want to do things our way instead of doing a way that we know eventually will be better for us. You know, for example, when I was a little kid, I can remember oftentimes wanting to cut corners and do things differently than my parents told me.
Yeah.
And if I would have done things my way, there would have been harm. I mean, I could have hurt myself. You know, building a fort, and it could have collapsed on top of me if I wouldn't have listened to my dad and used the right type of nails and screws and stuff. You know, somebody could have fallen out of a tree and been paralyzed for life. Well, the same thing's true with God. He is so much smarter than us. He knows what things will actually harm us emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And those things that compromise His directives on that are what we call sin. It's not Him poking you in the chest and berating you. It's Him saying, I love you, child. I don't want you to fall into that trap. I don't want you to be emotionally scarred. I don't want you to be physically harmed. I don't want you to be spiritually decapitated. I want the best for you. Anyway, got on a sidetrack here. But really, the Christian message is all about love, and Christians are learning to share that. And that's another great takeaway from it. But that was Kingdom Advisors, and I don't know how, I think we're out of time.
Yeah, we're getting close to being out of time.
We are. It's 20 after now, and we haven't even talked about the CEO Symposium. which was incredible. I met a couple of great guys there. One of them, Bob Williamson, Roberts Williamson. This guy's like, he's so rich I can't even begin. but he started off totally poor, living on the street. No college education. I don't even know if he finished high school or not. But we spent a lot of time together, and this guy just loves the Lord, and God is what saved him, turned him around. God came to him when he was in a bed with almost every bone in his body broken from a car accident.
Wow!
And as he was running from the law and running from himself, and he got saved, and it turned his life around, and he built 28 companies or so, 24 or 28 companies,
wow.
and sold them off. And you'd think all this money and everything, why would he even sit around and talk with me? But it was like we were best friends. And you know why? Because he's a Christian, because Jesus, the Holy Spirit was in him as is in me, and we're brothers in the Lord, and we knew we're both on a mission to help others come to the Lord or go deeper in their walk. I just thank God for him allowing me to meet this man. He inspired me. I got his book, which is Crazy Like a Fox. It's great. And by the way, there's a movie of his life going to come out pretty soon.
Oh.
Yeah, really neat. He was there. Kenneth Eldred was there, another business leader, somebody who built a huge business in computer supplies and sold it all. And again, the guy's got more money than I could ever count in my life. But that's not what's important about him. He's a strong believer, and his goal is to help everybody lead an integrated life of their faith. And these two guys, along with Ed Coble, who's and Dennis Baxley, a Florida senator, and Matt Stavers, CEO Liberty Counsel, Paul Blair. This guy's a pastor from Oklahoma. By the way, you guys got to look him up. Just an incredible guy. All these guys are on this tour going and giving talks, and they're holding these symposiums. They're like a couple hour symposium where these business leaders, CEOs from companies come, and they hear how Christ changed their lives and other lives, and they're there to encourage these CEOs to incorporate their values into their businesses and impact society. It was great. A lot to talk about. John Stenberger, another guy. This guy doesn't sleep. He's just incredible. He's CEO of Florida Family Council. Florida Family Policy Council. Sorry about that. Just incredible people. But we can talk about that another time. Just incredible tour. And then I went to the Council of National Policy, the CNP, at the end of it all, where just people who, conservatives, come together and help form policy for the administration. Anyway, I'll talk about that some other time because we're really out of time. But I'm so glad you're listening, and I just want to share a couple of things before we go.
Okay.
One is there's a big deal coming up, probably in August, that you're all going to want to know about, and we're going to need your help to promote it. There's a book signing coming up at that same deal.
Oh, all right.
I'm not going to say whose book, but somebody's in the room.
You read my book?
Yeah. and then on top of it, we are going to start focusing in again, and hopefully you'll tell your friends about this, and your friends will tell their friends, and we'll make this a big deal. Because if we can start reaching people for Christ to glorify God as Christians, believers and non-believers alike, we can bring some peace and joy temporally and eternally to this world, and you're all part of it. So thank you for being here. And remember, the more you understand, the more you grasp the whole concept that it's all His and you're all His, and that we can do beautiful and wonderful and mighty things in His name, the more we realize that life is
so much more
than money. God bless everyone.